And welcome back. It is another season of haunted Indiana, ghosts, and strange phenomenon of the Hoosier State, written by James A. Willis. And I am so glad you are here this October 2021 to join me in our 6th year of these videos. For those who have been with me since the first season, I thank you. I appreciate you. And for those just joining, please check out the playlist at the end of this video to catch up on seasons 1 through 5. Terre Haute in western Indiana. There is a long-standing theory that ghosts can't cross water. That notion has even made it into a lot of movies and books. Ever wonder why the Headless Horseman chucked his pumpkin head at Ichabod instead of just chasing him down? He couldn't cross the bridge over the creek. The reasons given as to why ghosts can't cross water are usually pretty vague, and, to be honest, I was never really convinced that that theory was true. If they couldn't cross water, how do all of these ghostly pirates get around? But if the theory is true, it might help explain why there are so many ghosts hanging around in western Indiana. The mighty Wabash won't let them go. While the 503-mile-long Wabash River enters Indiana in the northern part of the state, a vast portion of it runs along the western part, essentially forming the Indiana-Illinois border. It even separates Terre Haute from West Terre Haute. If you were to plot all of the reported ghost sightings in Indiana on a map, you'll find large clusters of them are centered in the western part of the state, with multiple haunted locations in a single town. Could it be that the Wabash River is keeping these ghosts there? We begin with Shades of Death. Waveland Shades State Park, located near Waveland, consists of more than 3,000 acres sprawling over 3 counties, and has everything you'd want from a state park. Hiking trails, camping facilities, picnic areas, and even canoeing. But as you walk through the park and see all the happy, smiling faces, you can't help but wonder if those smiles would fade, even just a little, if they knew that the area was originally known as the Shades of Death. As hard as it may be to believe, the area really was called Shades of Death, although the reasons why are unclear, but it was already known by that name when James W. Frizz purchased the property in the late 1800s. Frizz believed The name came from the way that the dense trees blocked most of the sunlight out, making it appear to people walking through the area that it was dead. Most people weren't buying it, though, and had their own explanations regarding the odd name. Some claimed that the woods were the site of a bloody battle between two warring Indian tribes. For hours on end, more than 600 Indians attacked each other, often resorting to hand-to-hand combat. When it was all over, only 12 men were left alive, as the surviving Indians crawled back to their respective camps and told their fellow tribesmen what had happened. They all became convinced that the woods were cursed and should be avoided at all costs, especially because they were more than likely now haunted by the warriors who had fallen that day in battle. When settlers moved into the area years later, they heard stories of the bloody fight and therefore called the woods Shade of Death. Another version of how the name came to be involves a couple who moved to the area and decided to build a home in the middle of the woods. Apparently, the man was a bit of a drunk and an angry one at that. Sadly, the object of all his rage usually ended up being his poor wife. One night, though, the wife decided she had enough and decided to put an end to her husband's abuse by burying an axe in his head. The wife made no attempt to hide what she had done and instead went immediately to the neighbor's house to let them know what had happened. But her neighbors all agreed that the abusive husband had it coming, and that what had taken place was justifiable homicide. So they all banded together, buried the dead husband in the woods, and made a promise not to tell anyone else what had happened. Of course, people will talk, and eventually the truth came out, and the name Shades of Death was attached to the woods. History does not record what became of the wife, and if she was ever brought up on charges. As for the husband, his body is still supposed to be buried somewhere in the park, possibly explaining why there are reports of a ghostly man with an axe roaming through the woods at night. Thankfully, for the sake of all involved, the axe is in the man's hands, not embedded in his head. In the 1940s, when Frizz was trying to turn the area into a state park, he decided to shorten the name to the less foreboding Shades and launched a campaign to save the Shades. The response was overwhelming, resulting in the Shades State Park we've all come to know and love. Well, I think that's a perfect ending to a grisly story. What do you think? Let me know. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. If you want to come find me, my links are in the description. And with that, I'll see you later, boils and ghouls.